Welcome everybody to the Life Between All or Nothing. I'm Scott J.
I'm Mary Kay.
And welcome to episode 18. And we are just plowing through these episodes, and it's incredible. Our point to our show, as it's always been and it always will be, is about if you're stuck in your life, then you have the ability to make changes. No matter how old, no matter how long you've been doing the same thing, if you want something to be different, you have the power to make those changes and to do something different. And we've had great guests along the way. I got to point out again one more time that I was so proud of my daughter, my son last week to come out and share all that with us. And it was a really powerful show, wasn't it?
Oh my God, that was a beautiful show. Beautiful.
If you haven't had a chance to see it, please check it out. It's on Facebook and YouTube and everything else. And we're going to do more of those things. And if you have a story that you'd like to share with us about how you've made changes in your life, how you were stuck and you found your way from the muck and the mire to the real life out there, please let us know. Reach out to us on Facebook, either Mary Kay or myself. Just reach out and let us know that you'd like to be on the show, and we'd love to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you know what? We've got somebody waiting in the wings here who wants to share some information about something he's doing to make changes. Shall we bring him in?
Let's bring him in.
Let's bring in our man.
Oh,
That's
Jacques.
right.
Hi.
That's right, Jacques. Let me get rid of this banner here because it's cutting our heads off. There we go.
Cutting my head off. Yeah.
I know what you look like anyway. I'm good.
You're funny.
Jacques, it's good to see you, my friend. We've been touching base here and there, but you've started something since our last show that you were on, and it is gaining strength. Certainly amongst our community of podcasters and public speakers and those guys. But why don't you give us a synopsis of what you're putting together here, buddy?
Sure. Well, thanks for allowing me to pop in. I know it's not the topic of the evening. I guess it could sort of fall into the topic, but it's not really the topic. But no, thank you. And Scott was on when I was just talking about. So what I did is, along with these two amazing people and a handful of others that were our friends of ours, started something called GRAY, and we call it The Movement Begins. And GRAY stands for gratitude, respect, equality, and you, because every movement begins with you. And basically what it is, it's built on 4 pillars: identity, community, purpose, and acceptance. And its overall goal is to build a better world for our children and the next generations, about positivity, to get away from the negativity, get away from racism, discrimination in all forms, inequalities. Let everyone just be themselves and accept everyone for who they are. It'll make the world a better place.
And there's room for a lot of things in this. There's room. Certainly, you mentioned racism, and you mentioned inequality. We're also talking about things like stigma too. That there's plenty of room for us to talk about in the GRAY movement, is to talk about, let's destigmatize all of these. Listen, all of us have something wrong with us, whether we have an obsession, we have just a proclivity to do the wrong things, or we have a real addiction or maybe a mental health issue. We need to stop looking at the labels and start looking at the people. And that's why I think this is so beautiful. I had drawn an arrow to this on our last show that we did with you, Jacques, about how on 9/11 everybody was covered in gray ash and they were wandering around the streets and reaching hands out to each other, lifting each other up, wiping each other off, helping move rubble. And nobody stopped once and said, well, let me save him and not her. And let me do this and not that. It's in front of me. It's a human being. Let me do what I can. And it was probably, out of that tragedy came some of the most beautiful acts of human kindness that we've ever seen. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why I said, and Mary and I talked about this, we call it unity without tragedy. Yeah. And I know Mary wasn't able; she was busy all day. And when I was talking during my live, what I said was, if you think about this, 20 years, go back to Woodstock. We're only preaching what was taught before, and it seems like every 20 years we need a kick in the ass. So you have Woodstock, okay, peace, love, harmony, happiness, camaraderie. Okay, now move ahead 20 years. And I didn't thought about this. We Are the World. We brought singers together of all walks of life. We brought, gay singers and black singers, female singers. They came together. We preached. We are the world. We stand together. Okay, 20 years later, 9/11. We came out of that. Here we are, 20 years later. What's next? Grade the Movement's next, because every 20 years we need to remind everybody that we can make the world a better place. We are the ones as adults that can break the generational cycles and start making that change, to open up our children's eyes and let them just see the world for what it is and not for what we believe it to be. That's the main component behind Gray.
Wow.
That's beautiful. Couldn't have said it better, Jacques. And you brought that up every 20 years, like it's a cycle. And you know what? It takes 20 years to bring someone to adulthood, right? So 9/11, somebody might not have been born. Here we are 20 years later, and now we've got to bring it to that generation, and right, so that it can keep going forth and be a sustainable culture change, because that's really what we're all about, right? Is we want to make a
Yes.
sustainable culture change.
Big words today. Big words. Hey, after 6 o'clock, we don't have to use big words anymore. We can just we click and we grunt and we do the best we can. This is important. Now, I made a comment during your live broadcast a few minutes ago, Jacques, that said, I said that if we don't stand for something, we're going to fall for everything. And that's the problem, is that there's a lot of people that stand back and say, well, I'm not part of the problem. I don't do that stuff. I don't judge. But are you doing anything to draw attention? Are you doing anything to make a difference? My what I want to say, and this is probably going to upset a lot of people. If you're not part of the solution, you are part of the problem. We can no longer stand back and just let things lie. We need to be proactive in doing the actions that express love, that express understanding, that express human kindness, and that express equality and understanding and all of those things. We have to move forward and do that. You can't just stand in the corner and say, it's not me, I'm not doing it. But it's happening all around you. We see it all around us, but we don't stand for anything. Stand for something and stop falling for everything. And this is a great movement to stand for. We spend a lot of time looking back at our history and looking back at the reasons why we have this kind of counterculture, racism, this kind of problem here, this problem there, instead of looking forward and saying, but what can we be today? What can I be today? I know what happened yesterday, but what can I be today? And let's all start being that. Gray is the perfect way to start that. Jacques, I applaud you for just moving forward with something like that. That's what you do, though, right, brother? You see something and you attack it.
No, as I said, I know you left a few minutes early because you were getting ready for the show, and I told everybody, I said, one of the things is going into something like this, just like any movement. We can go back to Million Man March. We can go back to Me Too. In theory alone was good. Live Strong. Everything started with one person, with a team, and they had the ability to stand up and say, we're not going to be deterred. We are going to stand up and we're going to fight for what we believe in. And you know what? I have thick skin, and I said this on the live video. You can bring whatever you want my way. I'll take it full on, because nothing's going to deter me. I have a great team that I'm working with. Obviously, the two of you, Chris and Scott Goyette, Walter, Lee Height. We have a powerhouse team. It's like the Justice League for mental health. I mean, but we're all, and, I didn't want to speak for everybody, but I know Chris's attitude is a lot like mine, where Chris takes all comers, and we'll take it head on. You know what? Bring it on, because you know what? We're fighting for something that we believe in. And the one thing I did say is that when we get to the level where we can have tens of thousands of people in these shirts, and we can march on Washington, and we can stand there, you know what? Our kids watch everything we do. How cool would it be for our kids to see their parents, whatever, standing side by side in all those gray shirts and all of us standing together, demanding change, demanding that we change the way that America is run. That's going to be huge, because you know what? 20 years down the road, when it's time to kick us in the butt again, and maybe some of us aren't here, they're the next generation to say, you know what? Mom and dad did this. This is what we're going to do, because they believed in something. We're going to believe in something. We lead by example, and that's how you bring change, is leading by example. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Shout out to Karen, who's watching us tonight. Michael Roybal, thanks for joining us, Michael. Our friend Terry is with us. And Michael is asking, he says, I'm sorry, what does GRAY stand for? He just logged on. So,
okay,
Jacques, would you repeat what it stands for, please?
Absolutely. So it's an acronym. It stands for gratitude, respect, equality, and you, because it's a movement. And the only thing that begins a movement is you. That's how we begin it. So that's what GRAY stands for as far as the letters.
Now, you have a Facebook page people can go to, and can they order shirts through the Facebook page or contact you, or how does that work?
So I'm working on that now. I just got back from vacation, and I came back.
Good for you.
I came back refreshed. But yes, there is a Facebook group. Anyone can join. It's a public group. It's just GRAY the Movement Begins. There's no questions asked. If you want to be a part of it, you jump in. Yeah. And I'm working on an online store for all the apparel, so that way people can order from obviously all over the United States. I have to ship one out to Chris and one down to Lee, I think, and a couple of you guys I can ship out. So that way you have your own to wear whenever you want on the shows. But let me just share real quick, because I know you want to get to your show and what you're doing. I will say that I came back fired up, and I enjoyed vacation except for two components of this. And this is what really was the final nail to say GRAY is what I need to do. Wow. So we were out in California. My brother is married to an African-American woman, beautiful, independently strong, amazing woman. They have 2 children, okay? Biracial children. So we were out in Malibu, and I'm going to mention the town because it's bullshit. So we go out, we're on our way to the San Diego Zoo. We stop to go in and use the bathroom. Well, my sister-in-law gets out and comes in behind me and whispers to me. She goes, "Hey, can you go in first? Because they don't like black people here." That set me off. I was like, really? You just said that to me? And it was almost like concern in her eyes. So she couldn't even feel comfortable going to a Jack in the Box in Malibu because of the color of her skin. So I had to go in and ask for the combination to the bathroom. Number one, that set me right off. Okay. Mm-hmm. So here it is. It's affecting my family. Now, 2 days later, we go out to dinner. I'm sitting with my niece and nephew, again, biracial children. And I would look over, and I always am aware of my surroundings. I would look over, and I could see people with their looks. As soon as I looked over, they put their head down. And I really wanted to get up and say something, but I chose not to. And I said, you know what? This is how I'm going to reinforce it, because now it's affecting my family. And GRAY is, now I'm extremely fired up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to roll this out 110%. I will not be stopped. I'm just pedal to the metal. We're going off the rails with this thing now.
Woo. You're on fire.
I'm way above. I'm way up here now.
Yeah. And Jacques, like I said, this extends so far out. Even in our political system, mm-hmm. Where people are so concerned with party lines, they forget about representing people and helping people. And again, that becomes, it's like, the right thing to do. Well, the other party's saying it, but I won't do it because the other party's saying it. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're not taking care of each other. And there was a point in time in the world when neighbors helped neighbors, and churches were the center of the universe in their towns. And if you needed food, it was there for you. If you needed help, it was there for you. If you needed medical care, you went to the old country doc and he just kind of took care of you. And that was the it. And now it's so different now. It is just such a mess. And we need to start something. This is the way to start it. I hope everybody out there is listening. Sandy, Jacques, you don't know, but this is my mom, actually.
Sandy mom, hi.
Sandy mom, we call her. And she says, "Hi, guys, absolutely love this movement."
Thank you.
Her and my business partner, Karen, are 2 people that are always out there trying to make a difference in the world.
Yeah.
And so I have to follow suit. And I'm on board all the way with you guys. Whatever we can do as a team, if we need to set up we can set up a GRAY Movement podcast, and we can have a rotate between different hosts and different people and do something really different with it where everybody gets a little piece of it. And that might be a fun thing. But,
well, let's get on the group, at some point, next week or so, and let's get it on our group page that we have, our group chat, and let's come up with that game plan, and
absolutely
we'll move forward with that. And that sounds great.
Sounds good.
Give me a few minutes to explain. I love both of you guys, and you know what? I'm glad to have you on board as part of the team. And just like we're preaching to everybody, we're all equals. Everybody thinks just because I started on the face, this is a whole team of equals. There's no one better. I'm no better than anybody else on this panel. So I want everyone to know that these are my teammates, and they stand with me. I stand with them, and that's how this is going to work. So I want to thank you all, and check that out. GRAY the Movement on Facebook.
That's it. Mary, any less? How happy are you, Mary, to see to share something like this with your son, Sadie?
Oh, I'm over the moon with this, because as Jacques mentioned earlier, yeah, our kids are the future. They're the future decision makers that are going to keep laws that continue to marginalize people, excuse me, out of the system, right?
Yeah.
These are the people that are going to be taking over for the ones that are making the stupid laws now, right? So I think it's great. It's great for me. It's something that speaks to my core values of humanity and love, and that we're all equal. That we're all equal. Like, we're all people. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of losing my words here because emotion gets in the way. And we owe it to ourselves and to our future generations to do things like this. And being a part of the movement can include something like, you don't have to march, right? Join us. Maybe it's because you want to educate yourself on the things that are going on. Join us because you want to challenge your own biases, even subconscious biases. Maybe you don't know you have. So, to wrapping that up, I encourage everybody to join us. Go to the Facebook group, The Gray Movement Begins. We'd love to have you.
Go to the group. My man Gandhi said it best. He said, "Be the change you want to see in the world."
Yeah.
You want things to be better. This is where it starts. It doesn't start by you sitting around waiting for someone else to do it. If you're waiting for your politicians to do it, it ain't freaking happening, people. If you're waiting for the guy down the street to do something to beautify your whole neighborhood, no, the whole neighborhood gets beautiful because everybody cuts their lawns. The whole beautiful gets neighborhood because everybody shares what they have. The neighborhood gets beautiful because it is open to everyone, and that's what we need to do. So, Jacques, I can't thank you enough for you being you and pushing forward with this. You're right. We're all on the team together, but it's great to have a quarterback that we can count on. Thank you so much.
Woo.
Thank you for having me on, guys. Love you both.
Love you, Jacques.
Yeah. We'll have you back later on, buddy. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So that is amazing.
Oh God, yeah.
Let me see. I was just people commenting. You can always learn something new. Keep an open mind, people. Absolutely. Yeah. Sandy Mom. In our extended family, we have biracial, Black, and Native American members. Not to mention LGBTQ members in our family. And then there's me, who's just totally weird and an alcoholic and a recovering addict. And we've got the hodgepodge of hate. I mean, people can hate us for 1,000 different reasons, but why?
So, you know what, Scott? And I think that's a good point that Sandy brought up, that in our extended families and everything, every family is affected by this in some way, shape, or form. In my family too, as well, we have biracial, we have LGBTQ. It's in like all of our differences are in every family, which our differences make us the same, if that makes any sense, right? It affects all of us.
It's the human condition that we all have
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And, anybody who doesn't believe, let me tell you something. If somebody believes out there that they've never experienced trauma, okay, you have. Were you born? Where are you born? The idea of being born, where you're going from inside the womb to outside to breathe air, to be like spanked, for lack of a better term, spanked into this world.
Wait, what show are we doing?
With a moment of shock and a moment of pain and everything else, that is like a traumatic thing. Now, it's a trauma that by nature we're built to handle that because it is part of the process of life. But we've all had different traumas. We've all had different problems. We've all had anxiety, possibly, or fear, or depression. And certainly some of us has slipped and made wrong choices and done bad things. And yes, I say the word bad. Everybody says, "Oh, don't say it's bad." No, it was bad. Some of the things I did were bad things. Yeah. But I believed I could turn around and make it better. And for me to be judged on all of those little things that everyone else has suffered in one way or another, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. I think that this is just so beautiful right now. And the topic of our show is love today.
Whew.
And that's what we're talking about.
I'm wearing a heart on my shirt. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah, I see that. It's beautiful. I wore red for hearts
Perfect. It's
or blood
perfect.
or this is like this is the standard serial killer flannel shirt. I mean, I could go with that. It's
It's also known as the Canadian dinner jacket, just so you know.
it's a Canadian dinner. Well, I'm down in Florida. It's like 90 degrees outside, but every room I go
Oh my
into has
God.
got so much air in it, like the air conditioning, that I actually dress warmer here than I would up north because
You
the
know
air
that
conditioner makes you cold.
you know that you can control that air conditioner, right? It doesn't have
No,
to be
I'm talking
that
about like at
cold.
the office, not at home. uh, Terry's just preaching to the choir. There we go.
Yeah.
But when we talked about earlier, I want to apologize if somebody was expecting Debbie here today, because I did put out an ad that was out there for a minute before I was able to like stop it.
Oops.
It was a scheduling conflict. We didn't work it out, and she told me we found out that it was a conflict about 15 minutes after I released the ad. And so I'm like backing up trying to cancel the ad, and then it's saying you can't cancel it this way, you got to do this and this.
Oh
And
my
so,
goodness.
but but love is something that Mary and I talk about often, as far as just being able to love what you do, being able to love the people in your life, being able to love yourself, all those things. And at the center of everything, that love has to exist.
Yeah.
And you were making a point before we went on the show, and I think this is the time for you to bring it out. It's really easy just to say I love you, or to say yes, I love that, or I love, but to actually live and make that an actionable word is a whole different animal, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of people think when they talk about love, usually it turns to romantic love. I want to have love in my life. I want to have that in my life. And to me, I think of it as, and not that I don't want romantic love in my life. Let's just make universe, just in case you're listening. Love to me is a verb. It's a state of being. So it's something that we do. It's not something that we have, right? It's something that's within us to, what's the word? Embody love.
Yeah.
And then you have it automatically. Like it's already in us. It's already in us to generate, regenerate. And it's something that is people say that it's a renewable resource, right? It's a resource, and it's it cuts across every area of our life, is that being love. And maybe it sounds a little bit corny. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, no, I love what you're saying. See, I love what you're saying. It's to really step into it, and not just give it lip service. Yes, we're all out there. Yes, would I like to find romantic love in my life again? Yes, I would, maybe at some point. I mean, I don't chase it the way I did when I was a kid, but that was really lust, not love, and those things. But one of the things I find is, I spent a little more time alone, is that love goes so far beyond all of that. My love of music, my love of the people in my life, my love of helping and being of service to people, and actually stepping into that and doing those actions. Your love of the outdoors. Your love of the outdoors is hollow unless you do. It would be hollow unless you did what? Go outdoors. Yeah. I mean, you can love the outdoors. I mean, I see people it's like watching the Discovery Channel and Planet Earth, and they're like, "Oh, I love this, so beautiful out there." They haven't gone outside of their house in a year. Step outside into those things. If you love people, be with them, spend time with them, show your appreciation and show your love. Not by buying baubles and gifts and flowers, although, certain times of the year you have to buy flowers. I learned that the hard way. Flowers and chocolate, always have that on speed dial just in case. But to step into it and really just kind of be present in those moments. It's so important. Scientifically, Mary, it's been proven scientifically, human beings cannot thrive without love. Yep. That they've done experiments where they've taken away affection and things like that from children and things. As horrible as it sounds.
I was going to say, yeah.
It is horrible.
Questionable scientists.
They've done experiments, and it was not kosher, and you can look it up, and it's not. Yeah. But where children weren't picked up and held, and they weren't this and that, and they come out really, really messed up. It's really, really messed up. us as human beings, we need that. We need that. And for us to deny ourselves that is just the worst thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Terry's naming off granddaughter. Yes, grandchildren are great to love. Fur babies.
Fur babies. Oh, yeah.
That is, you know, I recently got a cat, Sir Jack Jones. He's known as Jonesy.
Jonesy.
And he's actually on the floor behind me, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, he usually sleeps behind me when I'm doing podcasts. Jonesy came in. I was alone in the house. I wanted something to talk to other than myself. And Jonesy came in, and we've already built a bond.
Aww.
Where it's really interesting. And, you know, I'm not the cuddly, ooh, kitty, kitty, kitty kind of thing, but I'm more like, hey, Jonesy, get over here. And it's like, it's that kind of relationship. He's like
your buddy.
He's like one of my Goombas from New York or Jersey, you know, just come on along, man.
Goomba Jonesy.
Let's see. Sandy says, agree, Mary. Sometimes a simple act of kind words to another person is an act of love.
Yeah.
Oh, most definitely. Is not kindness an extension of love?
Kindness, yeah, it is part of. It's part of how it's demonstrated or how it's interpreted, right? And I think on the point of interpretation of love, I might say to somebody, I love you, or I love that. And I mean, for me, it's, you know, I want to spend every day with you for the next 2 weeks. That person might turn around and say, oh, I love you too. And to them, it means I want to spend the rest of my life with you. So interpretation.
and then comes the awkward moment when you think you're not.
But the thing is, so the important piece about that is that people are going to interpret how you say it or how you demonstrate it from their perspective, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to interpret your words as in one way, whereas you might mean them in a totally different way than I'm hearing them. So yes. I'm bringing that up because I think it's very important in our relationships as well, or in our relationships, to when the time is right. I mean, not on the first date or something. You're not going to say, well, my expectation of love, of what being love is and me giving love, this is what it looks like. You might not bring that up on the first date, but at some point, I think it's a really good idea to talk about our expectations. And it doesn't all have to be about love. It can be about other things too. And I think that, you know, it's when our expectations are known, and sometimes even when they line up, because I think they do need to line up a little bit.
Yeah, they do. I always take time to compliment someone as many times a day as I can. That's an expression. That's expressing kindness in any sort of way is this expression of love on a certain level. It certainly is, because you care enough about another human being to do something kind. And that's and she's saying you're hitting a nail on the head there, Mary. And I agree, you are. But there's different interpretations. You're right. I never told anybody I loved them. At least not very often. It was very, you know, to me, it was almost a weakness in a sense, you know. And
Wait. I want to stop you right there because I'm gonna probe into that a little bit if you don't mind. So you thought it was
here it comes.
I know. You thought it was a weakness by saying I love you. What is behind that thought that you might be seen as weak if you say I love you to someone?
Okay, because love makes you vulnerable. This is my interpretation from when I was young. And love makes you vulnerable, and you start to count on somebody, you start to love somebody, and then they inevitably either let you down or hurt you in some way. And so I had become less connected to people. I got along with a lot of people back when I was in my teenage years. I had a lot of people around me, I had a lot of friends, and I did a lot, but I was never quite as connected. And I always felt like I was somewhat separated. I kept a wall somewhat between me and other people, because I always felt that everyone was going to hurt me sooner or later. So to love somebody is to let that wall down And I wasn't going to allow myself to do that. It wasn't until I got later in life, and I have, certainly there's love. I love people. I love things. I love my favorite TV show. I love pizza, which I'm not allowed to have anymore. Thank you, God. Unless I get cauliflower crust, but we all know that's not pizza. All right. So
sure it is.
Yeah. Not that I'm bitter. Not that I'm full of love, people. Full of love. There's all kinds of love, and then there's being in love, which is that romantic thing where we use that term in love because we become like we swim through it. It becomes like all around us, and it's enveloping, and it's with the other person. And I've only experienced that a couple of times in my life, like three times in my life, maybe 4. The rest of the time, though, as I got older, I started to understand that I could express love towards people, and I don't have to. It doesn't mean that they're going to hurt me. There's no correlation between that. The correlation I have is the minute I love somebody, they're going to hurt me. And that because I had that happen a few times, whatever, when I was young. But now it's, I hurt myself more if I don't allow myself to express it. Even for me to walk up to one of my guy friends and say, "I love you, man." That would have never occurred to me 10 years ago. I never would have even thought about doing that. I didn't even say it to my father. My father and I, we never said love you to each other. It was just kind of like, hey, I haven't killed you yet. That means I love you. That's
new definition.
Yeah. But
I don't want to kill you.
But now, I had dinner with lunch with my dad the other day over in Naples, and we went there, and I gave my dad a hug. He kissed me on the cheek. I kissed him on the cheek and I said, "Love you." He goes, "Love you too." And now it's like we can do that, but it took 56 years. Well, I started doing it a little while ago, so maybe 45, 46 years of my life to learn that it's okay to love, that it's okay to just freely love. It doesn't make you weak. The real weakness is hiding behind walls. That's the real weakness.
And sorry to interrupt you. How did you break down that wall? So that wall was there, so you weren't telling or showing or even letting yourself fully love someone because you were afraid that they would hurt you. How did you take those bricks down?
Well, I think part of it was growing up because of, my recovery, obviously, which at that point I was maybe 9 or 10 years into recovery. And that's the point when you really start to move away from, trying not to drink into living real life. It's like it becomes real. But so that's part of it. I think part of it was watching my kids suffer too.
Ooh.
And when you watch your children suffer, things go through your head. Issues with my daughter, who we met last week, who is now my son. With Cordy, issues with my son Julian and Hillary, and just watching them go through things and bad things happen to them, and me laying there or sitting there with one thought in my head that went through my head is, did I tell them I loved them? Did I tell them enough? Was I there for them? I might have shown up and put food on the table sometimes, and then sometimes I didn't. But even in my recovery, yes, I started to be there for him, but I really wasn't there for him because I wasn't fully expressing myself, and that was part of the change that had to happen. And so my kids were a big indicator of that, is to sit there and say, I don't ever want to have something happen to me or happen to them without them knowing that I love them. And then I started thinking about that in other parts of my life. When my grandfather passed away, and did I tell him enough? Did he recognize how important he was in my life? And I don't know if he did, because I still wasn't at that point of expressing myself enough. And so now, you know what? I meet people in 10 minutes. I can love them, or I could just kind of not gel with them. But if I do love them, I'll tell them, and I'm just like, I love you, brother, man. You're important to me. And that has to be expressed now. It's not something I can hold back. It's like holding back a freaking tsunami. I get waves coming out of me, and I recognize now that expression of emotions is strength. Repression of emotions is complete weakness. And I had it wrong my whole life. I had it wrong, and so many people have it wrong now.
Yeah,
we need to not have that. Yeah,
exactly.
Did that answer your question at all?
And that totally answered my question. And you know, and the way that you talked about it, it sounds like it's a journey. It's not like 1 minute you're this and the next minute you decide I'm just gonna love and let everybody know I love them. I mean, although that can happen.
Well, you know what happens is it is a journey, but you have these little moments, these little epiphanies of that really felt good. That you know what? It's not even about feeling good or anything else. It's for the first time in your life feeling authentic.
Ooh.
Feeling authentic. Everybody talks about authenticity. Your authenticity is what you feel and how you see things, and in expressing who you are, not expressing fakeness, not expressing something that's going to impress somebody.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, you know, that you know, everybody knows Teresa and I because our show, The X's, and you know, and we've talked, and you know, one of the things that happened was I was so busy trying to create that perfect little family picture that I forgot to be honest, and I forgot to just talk about how I was feeling, and I forgot to just share who I was. And what happened was it created a rift.
Yeah.
You know, and she's admitted she's had some parts of that too, where she's guarded herself. And we recognize now that we're best friends, we recognize it's like that's what went wrong. Now we work better now as best friends, but it was such a good lesson for me to recognize that anything I hide my true emotions from, I can never completely be connected to.
So. Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. And that's part of the respect for yourself, the love for yourself, is to be able to be authentic.
Now, Mary, I'm going to put you on the spot now because you know, it's your turn. Before I do, hey, let's talk about one of our really good friends.
Sure.
Lynn Serrano's with us.
I love Lynn. I love you, Lynn.
Love you, Lynn. Oh. I love that little heart thing.
Oh, let's
you know what? Okay. People used to do this, and I was like, I didn't know what that meant. No, nobody ever told me. They're just like, and I'm like, hey, yeah.
What is that? Oh, you can do it that way too.
And then somebody's, oh, that's a heart. And I'm like, oh my God.
So funny. I'm so glad Lynn is here.
Yes. Terry's asking about me and Gary. Terry, I'll let you know now. It's a different show. Live Out Loud is another show I do. Gary and I, we were talking 2 weeks ago. We will be back on the air sometime in the next month or so. We will be back. But he's got a new band. I got new business stuff I'm doing. So, but we will be back. Live Out Loud is not gone. All right, let's see. Robin Copeland is saying hello. Robin, another person that just inspires me. I love her. You know, another one of my heroes of recovery who just, you know, went on to do great things. Robin, I love you. Theodora, wow. all of her friends are coming out tonight. Yay. I love this. We had Jacques on, and we got hearts in little faces. Why? Because we can. Mom is saying hi, Lynn. Yeah. Okay, I appreciate all of you being here, but talk to us, not to each other. Okay, just it annoys me. Robin saying thank you. Oh, hello, Mama Sandy. Great. Are you guys done talking, or should we just like trade your conversation back and forth for the rest of the show?
Oh my God! And you know what?
But I love you all. I love you.
I was just gonna say I love everybody who's joined. I love all of you, and you. Many of you inspire me because you embody that love. Like you embody love. And I think that's something that can connect people. And I know for a fact that the first time I talked to Lynn one-on-one on video chat, it was like, bam, instant. Like it was that instant. I love this woman, right? I love yeah. As a human, I love her soul. I love her. And I think, you know what, that same thing happened with you and I, Scott, when we first talked, yeah. There was that instant, you know, our souls recognize each other. And I think that's really a lot of what love is about. And I know I'm so corny tonight.
It was funny because I said, let's chat for a few minutes and just like, you know, because I knew there was some reason I wanted to, you know, get to know you. And I knew we were going to do something together. I just knew it when I heard you doing shows with other people and stuff. And so when we got on there, I'm like thinking, you know, I don't spend more than 5 minutes on the phone with a friend contemplating suicide. All right. I'm not a big talker. I'm not a big talker that way. But we got on and we talked, I think it was like 2 hours. It was just like boom, like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, you know, there's people like that. But if you don't take the chance to reach out, if you don't extend your thoughts and or extend your feelings a little bit towards others once in a while, what are you going to miss out on? You know,
A lot.
what deep relationship or deep experiences can you miss out on because you just don't have the balls
The
or
balls.
the balls to just be you, to just say, hey, I'd like to talk to you. Let's
Yeah.
see.
I can tell you a story from my I love you.
Love you,
Love
Mary
you, Lynn.
Kay.
I
And
think
you're talking about love. Awesome feeling, isn't it? Yeah.
it is. And we can have it in every single moment. We can make that decision to feel it, no matter what it is. It's not small love, big love, whatever you want to call it. We can be it and do it every single day. So going back to the kinds of things that your fear can stop you from experiencing that love with another person.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Sandy Mom said that
Yep.
right now. It's that fear. So I know when I was in my early 20s, I had an experience where I fully gave myself into this relationship, fully, or so I thought. Because when I had a glimpse of what our future together might be like, because he was an undercover police officer, and starting to hear some of the stories and hear what was going on, and that his life was constantly in danger, and my fear completely blanketed that love completely. And I ran away from it. I ran away from that. And after that, it was very difficult for me to not, like you said, you had a wall.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I had an entire like community center built around me. So maybe it was a maze. I don't know. Nothing was getting through. And that lasted for decades. It
Yeah.
wasn't until my 40s, as I was going through a divorce, that I realized that, what's that Taylor Swift song? I'm the problem. Hello, I'm the problem. Hi, or whatever she says. I'm the problem. Anyway, that was my lesson.
I wouldn't know any
I'm
Taylor
the
Swift
problem.
song, I'm proud to say.
And maybe it isn't even Taylor Swift. I'm not sure. But once I realized that I was the problem, it wasn't somebody else. There was nothing and no one that I could blame for me not experiencing what I wanted to experience. It was all me.
Terry says, I had and still have a bomb shelter. We're talking about walls and buildings. She built a bomb shelter. That is brilliant. I love it, Terry.
Oh my
That's
God. Panic room. Panic room.
Lynn says, when you let go of the fear, the right people will come along. That is true, because you're open to those people. People who are open in feeling human beings and at least kinesthetic in some way, where they go with their guts and stuff. They don't approach people with walls around them. And they can kind of sense that they're being pushed away. So the minute you let those walls down and you let go of the fear and you just be you, it's amazing the people that gravitate towards you. It's amazing. And Robin said something, I love this. Fear is false evidence appearing real. There's nothing real in fear. Fear is the creation of a myth in our head about what might or might not happen. But it isn't.
Absolutely.
It isn't now. Fear isn't now. Fear is usually something we're thinking about down the road. So let me wall myself off in the world now just so that later somebody can't hurt me. It makes no sense.
Yeah, walking around in an armor. And I mean, I think, if you want to arm yourself something, arm yourself with love. If you think about our daily interactions with people, if you arm yourself with love so that maybe you need to take a pause before you respond to that person, that's okay. In that pause, you can decide, I'm going to lead with love in this conversation. And, an example from my life fairly recently, there was somebody an adult that was being a real bully, to me. And I'm looking at the situation and I'm thinking that, oh yeah, it's all that person's fault. It's all that person's fault. They've got issues, things like that. They shouldn't be taking it out on me. And then I stopped because I had seen a YouTube video or something that said, send people love and do it in your mind and watch what happens. So I thought, okay, let me try this exercise. So there was one morning that I sat down, and that's what I did. In my mind, I sent that person love. I sent it to their adult version, and I also sent it to their child version. And it's in my mind, and I know it sounds a little woo-woo, but that's what I did. And lo and behold, when I interacted with her that day, it was a different interaction.
Wow.
Send them
That's
love.
crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
it is crazy.
That is something in recovery that a lot of people talk about is when you have a resentment against somebody, pray for them.
Yeah. Same idea.
Extend positivity towards them.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to make sure people don't understand. I don't like everybody.
You don't have to.
I don't like everybody. I live by my precept now that I try to live by as best I can is to befriend many, trust some, but love all. And
well, that's beautiful.
There's a small circle of deep trusting people where I would share my deepest, darkest with, and it's getting larger as I expand, but it's a small group. But I have many, many, many friends. I have a lot of people I don't like, but I do love all. I mean, I don't wish harm on any human being. We actually we're dealing with a bully situation in my office not that long ago with somebody we were working with, and Karen and I had to sit and say, all right, well, we're not happy. We don't like this, but it's really not up to us to judge this. I could dislike something, but if I'm not sitting in judgment of it, I can still love them as a human being, but dislike them and not want them in my presence. It's fine. As long as I'm not judging, as long as I'm not doing that. And that's what we try to do. Robin says, I trust everyone until proven otherwise. I agree, Robin. Here's one of the things people are afraid of. What if you hurt me? Mary, you and I, we're going to get together, but oh my God, what if you hurt me? One of the things I learned in my life is with all the things I went through, there is not a human being on this planet that has hurt me more than my own decisions. If I'm really afraid of pain, I ought to be the best person I could be, because when I'm not at my best, that's when I'm in trouble. There's no one out there that can hurt me nearly as bad as I hurt myself. And that's true for all people. We put ourselves in bad places. We do wrong things. We make bad decisions. We become hateful towards ourselves, and we do all these. We spit more venom at ourselves than we do at anybody else, almost constantly. We are our own worst enemy, and the best way to combat that is to live in love and to express yourself and to be open. And then you become a person who won't hurt you. And if I've got me on my side and I'm not going to hurt me, really not much anybody else could do to me that's really going to be that bad. Well, you're going to steal my TV or rob my money? So what? It's money. It's a TV. You're going to punch me? I get a black eye. It'll heal. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I've survived a life that most people wouldn't. I've come out on the other side, and I feel good about me, and I feel good about you, and I feel good about all of our friends out there.
I do.
What are you going to take from me? What are you going to take from me?
That's right. And that's the thing, that once you get to that understanding that there is nothing that can be taken from you.
Right.
Nothing can be taken from you. And it takes a while to wrap your mind around that. And it is a journey, doesn't happen overnight. Something I do with my coaching clients, because people come to me as a coach because there's a fear. There's a fear in there somewhere. And I want to turn them around so that they live through love instead of living through fear. Right? Yeah. When they want to make a change in their life. So one of the exercises that I make them do, I invite them to do, is come up with a list of 10 things that they love about themselves.
Yeah.
And I give them a week to do it. And it's not easy. It's not easy for somebody who hasn't been taking steps to change their life because they're fearing the barrier, the consequence, whatever the barrier happens to be. And once they create that list, it's like they unlock an entire other piece of them.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. And I invite everybody watching us today, try that. Nobody has to see this list. You don't have to show it to anybody.
It's personal to you. It's
for
very
you.
Keep that, yes.
10 things that you love about yourself. So it could be, for me, I love that I'm a morning person, right? That's one of the things on my list.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that I have this connection with nature. So those are two of mine, just as examples. So I'd love everybody to try for themselves.
Robin's joining you saying daily affirmations work for, and that's the same kind of thing. Daily affirmations about yourself and about, and about life. But I love your idea. The funny thing is, if I ask somebody to give me a list of the 10 things you hate about yourself, they can write it pretty quickly. Give me a list of 10 things you love about yourself. People get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
People get stuck, and sometimes it's because we're thinking about, well, I'm overweight, or I'm old, or I got wrinkles, or I'm this. That's not who you are. That is the shell that you exist in, but it's not who you are. What do you love about you? What do you love about your mind and your heart and your soul? What do you love about that? What connections do you have in this world that just make you feel good? I mean, I love the fact that I have learned how to be alone and thrive, and not only thrive, but to find peace and serenity instead of sadness and despair, which I used to have. If I was alone for more than 10 minutes, sadness and despair would set in.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I'm not kidding. If I broke up with a girl, while I'm walking her to the car with her bags and sending her on her way, I'm looking at the neighbor next door saying, "What are you doing for dinner tonight?" Because I was that so obsessed. And one of the things I love about me is that I found that my own company is pretty goddamn awesome. Because I can create, I can think, I can sing, I can paint, I can play guitar, I could watch TV, I can make popcorn and cook a 4-course meal for myself. I could do anything I want. There's a freedom and a beauty in that.
There is.
That's just extending yourself out past the fear. And I think you were right. I think fear is probably the number one blocker of love all around.
Fear is the blocker of everything.
It really is.
And I'm saying that as a generalization. Anything that you want to change, acquire, whatever in your life, fear is going to keep you from getting it.
Terry says, nobody can hurt me as bad as I have. And thank you.
That was the point exactly. I was
making. And she's also sharing that I'm still trying to come out the other side, working hard on it. Listen, you mentioned this is a process. This is a journey. This is not, you'll have aha moments and celebrate those moments.
Yeah.
But recognize when you're climbing a mountain, just because you find a little piece jutting out, maybe a cave to spend the night in, the climb ain't over. You found a great rest, you found a great space, and you're grateful for that, and it feels good. But there's so much more to discover. Keep going. Keep going.
And our show, I mean, the title, The Life Between All or Nothing, that's telling people that in between the mountain peaks, right? Yeah. In between the mountain peaks, that's where you live your life. You're living your life in the climb. You're living your life in going down the hill. You don't go from peak to peak to peak if you're a mountain climber. Life is lived in between. Life is lived in between the accomplishments. Life is lived in between the goals. That's where life happens. And that's where the changes happen and the transformations. And sure, it's nice to reach those goals. But then what? After you reach your goal and you're a little bored with that goal, do you then fall to unhappy? Well, let's hope not.
I guess if I can, we got about 6 minutes left. That's crazy. This is a topic that can go on forever. This is love. And, one of the funny things is that I want you to think about somebody in your life that you love more than life itself, or that you would do anything for, I could pick any one of my 3 kids. I'll just say Cordy, because everybody met Cordy, love her with all my heart, dearest thing. I would never never want to put a limit on her life and who she can be. I would
Mm.
never want to put her down with words. I would never want to make her hurt purposefully. I'd never want to deprive her of love and happiness and peace and joy. I would never want to do that. But I'll do it to myself.
Mhm.
And what that tells me is that I need to take some of that love that I'm searching the universe for and reaching out, trying to find all this, and turn it inward for a little bit, and start to love myself enough that I do not want to limit myself. I do not want to rob myself of joy and happiness, and I certainly do not want to put myself in a box and behind a wall. Think about how much you love another human being, and then turn some of that inward and start to realize you should love yourself that much too. You know, I don't know if that makes
agree.
sense, but it's
So-
yeah.
I totally agree with that, Scott. And yeah, think about how you love someone. Like, make that your marker or your meter stick for how you want to feel. And like I said earlier, love is something that's renewable. It's not like you only have this much love, so you give some here and some there and some there and some there. It's
People
like
act like that though, don't they? They act like, oh, I got a little bit.
They do. So take a candle. Say you take a candle, right?
Yeah.
You've got the candle, it's lit. You take another candle and you touch it, you touch the wicks together. Well, now that one is lit as well. You bring another candle in, that one is lit as well. The fire is not being pieced around. It's the potential is within all of us. You just got to light that candle for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't have to ever have an ending. It
Never.
doesn't have to have an ending, and it doesn't have to be limited. You're right. There's a lot of people out there that will just kind of keep themselves in these little boxes or these little containers of, I love this, I love that, I hate everybody else. And it's like, well, that's listen, if that's how you want to live, I can't judge you on that. All I can tell you is, if you want some love, I got some to spare, and I can love you, brother, until you love yourself enough not to do that to yourself. You know,
that's beautiful.
Borrow my love, because
borrow my love, borrow my voice and my love.
Borrow my love. Use it until you find your own. But don't ever limit yourself, ever. Don't live in fear. And just remember, the only real weakness we have is when we hide from ourselves and hide from what we feel and who we are. That's our biggest weakness. When you know who you are and you're living it, and you're loving it, and you're sharing it with other people, you got the strength of Samson. I'm telling you, it's incredible. Let's see, Sandy, wonderful conversation. Don't talk about it enough. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, she's right. You're right, Sandy.
When's the last time you sat around a group of people and said, let's talk about love? You know, I think it happened at Woodstock.
Well, it's funny that you say that. So I'm seeing my girlfriends in a couple of weekends. We're all meeting up for brunch, and I'm going to bring it up.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's going to be part of that conversation. Why not?
That'd be great. And let's remind everybody about, at the beginning of the show, our friend Jacques was with us, and Jacques has launched with all of us behind him and beside him and everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
You know, self and gay and the Walt and all the people out there. I can't think of anybody's names. I'm like totally just like, ooh, everything. You ever get a really good thought, but the minute your mouth opens, like the actual thought falls out of your mouth and you got nothing to say. That's what happens.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Yeah. It's called thought vomit. You just open your mouth and it's gone. It's just gone. Anyway, Gray Movement begins. Go to Facebook. Gray Movement begins, and join up and become part of the Gray Movement, where we're going to lead with love and start treating human beings like human beings and stop treating them like a label. And so join us for that. Mary Kay, I can't talk enough about this stuff, but our time has come to an end. What do you think about this? What do you think about all of this tonight?
Woo! I feel warm and fuzzy. To be honest. I love this conversation. I love this topic. I love. And of course, I love you. I love you.
Yes.
And everybody that's watching.
And I love you too. You know, love everyone who's been with us. Special shout out to my friend Robin, who I haven't seen in quite a
Yeah.
long time. Thank you so much for joining us, Robin, and Terry, and Sandy, and Karen, and Theodora, and Lynn, and all of you people out there. Thank you
Wow.
so much for being a part of what we're trying to do. And you know, if there's not enough love in your life, just open up the floodgates a little bit more, and you'll have plenty. You know,
Yeah.
don't look for
And
someone
look,
else. Don't look for somebody else to bring it to the party.
and
That's
you know,
big.
that's a good
Yeah.
point before we go. I know we're about to close. Look in the mirror. One of my favorite songs is Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Look
Yeah.
in the mirror. His song says, starting with the man in the mirror. Look
Yeah.
at yourself, eye contact, and tell yourself, I love you.
That's right.
Right? Even if you can only do it in your mind, you can't bring yourself. And hug yourself. I hug myself all the time because I live alone most of the time. My son's sort of back and forth. I hug myself all the time.
And so I'm always telling people, do one good thing for someone else, and do
Yes.
two good things for yourself every day, because you deserve it. I mean, sometimes we treat ourselves worst of anybody out there. So be good. I love that song too. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. That's what
There
we
you
got.
go.
All right. For everyone and all of our wonderful guests, again, we're hoping that you'll join us again here next week, right here on The Life Between All or Nothing. For now, I'm Scott J.
I'm Mary Kay. Love you.
And we will catch you next time, right here on The Life Between All or Nothing.